All right, special guest on lolz today. It is Joe Holka. You guys know him from the fantasy football streets and all of his various endeavors there around. And we're going to talk to him about the behind the scenes business of making content in this space, some of his experiences on the other social media platforms, and also kind of pick up where we left off a few weeks ago, behind the scenes of the ex-handicappers, sports betting touts, and all of those interesting things that Brian and I have, hypothesized about on here, but maybe don't know the actual truth behind what's going on there. I'm Pete with Brick. This is lolz. Let's do it.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
All right, Joe Holka on the show. We were just mentioning right before we went live that you've never been on the show before, but a longtime listener. You're going to slide right in and fit in around here, Joe.
What's up, fellas? Yeah, it's been a while since we've talked, Pete, so I'm excited to just catch up more than anything. This time of the year, it's kind of like do a little bit of a macro, what went well, what didn't go well, but it's also a good time to kind of catch up with friends that I've lost touch with over the last few months as I've been in my my short form video / content hole for a while, just trying to do my thing. So yeah, I am an avid listener though, so this is going to be a fun one for me.
And Brian, how are you doing? You guys are coming off of your big announcement earlier this week about In-Game Syndicate's acquisition of Run the Sims. People can obviously go listen to the announcement video there if they want more details, but how's it going?
Good. Yeah, that's been in the works for a while, so not super new to me. But I appreciate Joe coming on. And can't wait to chop it up, especially with the industry stuff. That's definitely one of the reasons we wanted you to hop on. We've been a lot
more fun than talking football anyway, Brick. I'd rather do that.
Yeah, I mean, we break down every game famously, every game that's out there, each week. But you don't have to do that each time.
That's fair.
That's fair. When you mentioned, Joe, the social media stuff, I was curious because I did think of you, like how big of a scare did the TikTok shutdown give you? Like what was going through your head with all of that? Because for people who don't know, you have spent significant time and resources building up multiple channels on TikTok.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a weird, I guess, roller coaster, right? Because when everything first started, like how many times have we heard over the years that TikTok was going to get banned, right? So my first initial instinct was, yeah, like whatever, this always happens, ignore it. Didn't really even think about it a ton really through the football season. And then it started to kind of pick up some steam to where like, okay, like this might actually be something that either goes away or sticks around in a very different format. Both of those would be very bad for me, as a lot of my revenue does come from some of those short form videos, affiliate stuff, which you can get deeper into in a second. But TikTok specifically, yeah, I mean, it's one of my biggest platforms. Some over like 600,000 across all platforms, but 180 of those is on one channel on TikTok. So that was a little bit scary. We got like basically the notification, I don't know if anyone else saw it, that it was going to be going offline, and it only lasted for about 12 hours and TikTok was back. So that was great. Also, I had a second scare. As I mentioned, it was a little bit of a roller coaster. That account, my main account, got banned about 4 days later, like fully banned. Like it was completely gone. The username, all the videos, it was literally like, this account has been banned. I appealed it and got an email that said that the appeal has been denied, that all of these things basically was unrecoverable. So I went to bed. This was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 days ago, thinking that regardless of TikTok being back, I was going to have to start over and that main account was going to be gone. Woke up, account was back. No idea what happened. I think they have a lot of stuff automated behind the scenes from like that perspective. Wow. And there's so many bots and crazy stuff happening, even in our world, not even just like finance, crypto, all that stuff. There are hundreds of Joe Holka accounts that are trying to get people to go to their Telegram, whatever. So I think that maybe I got flagged for something like that. But who knows? TikTok's also one of those platforms that is a little bit tougher on gambling, believe it or not, than basically any other. So that's a little bit scary. But yeah, it's been a weird week and a half with TikTok. That's for sure.
Man. And that, I mean, that's the thing that's so scary about any of these platforms, right? It happened to people on YouTube for a while. Like,
Yep.
you wake up one day and they've either demonetized you, fully deplatformed you, and you have no way of even contacting your audience if that's your one specific vehicle to communicating with them.
Dude, I say it every time. The only audience that actually matters is your email list. And it's like not the fun, cool thing to say, but like these social media platforms, like there's always going to be opportunities that come and go across all of them. But your email list is really the only thing that you have forever. So I put a pretty big emphasis on that as well. Like I mentioned, like the 600,000 across platform, almost 100,000 of those are pure email lists. So I like to think that regardless of what happens with TikTok or any of these other platforms, I'd be okay and be able to pivot into different areas. But I'd be lying if I said that the short form stuff didn't completely change my business in the last like year and a half.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit, Pete? His story was Black Friday in poker. Very similar. There was a lot of, like talk that it would be shut down, rumors. No one really believed it. And then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I have to get a new career.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Well, and you've seen, like, even over the years, even before the like threat of the ban, or maybe it was contributing to it, you've seen lots of creators blow up on TikTok and then be like trying to establish themselves on YouTube. It'd be like, please
So
go
hard.
follow me on YouTube, because it's like, I am like scared about if this rug gets pulled out from underneath me, what I have after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just happening. People were making videos trying to tell people to go from their TikTok to whatever platform, Instagram Reels, YouTube, that sort of thing. I've always kind of been on the side of like, that stuff doesn't even work anyways. Like, no one's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go like try and find, like, they're going to find you wherever they end up, right? Wherever their attention lands. If it would have like dramatically been like all the TikTok people go to Instagram Reels, they're still going to see me at some point on their feed anyway. So those videos always kind of make me laugh. I guess I am a little bit lucky in some ways that I'm pretty diversified. Like I'm like across Instagram, TikTok, like I'm not really focused on Twitter at all right now, but I do have a Twitter. YouTube is mostly just my Sunday live streams at this point. But to your point, man, like there's a lot of people that think they can do these short form videos and they try and do something completely different across YouTube and don't have a lot of success. So it's scary times for a lot of creators too, not just me and not just sports, right? Like there's millions of people that are making their full-time income on TikTok. So it was scary times, man. I hope everything's gonna be okay, but we'll see.
I wanted to say the TikTok thing is super fascinating. It sucks because it's part of your livelihood. So like I'm not super optimistic. If I had to make a line, like one way or another, I think it's either the algorithm's changing or it's gonna get shut down. Because I mean, there's a lot of similarities to poker. Not to bring it up again, but
yeah,
it's not just like this gray area with China, and poker was this gray area of gambling back then. It's the industry. It's the industry competition that a lot of those people who are very powerful and have a lot of money don't like how well TikTok is doing and how great their algorithm is. So that is hurdles you do not want in politics, unfortunately. So like I mean I hope it works out for you. And people really enjoy it. There's like a lot of small content creators, like mom and pop stores and stuff.
Totally.
Like Etsy kind of type of people too, who all work on TikTok. And I think it's really because TikTok's algorithm is really like gives you what you want. Pete's been saying that for years.
Something about it, man. It's just that much better. No one can quite put their finger on it, but it really like spend 30 minutes swiping on Instagram Reels and you'll be back on TikTok in a day, right? It's just so much different. So
I've spent like tried like the Instagram Reels thing and literally will watch like 2 to 3 videos, never feel compelled to go back to it. And I can go down, a 30, 45 hour minute rabbit hole swiping on TikTok, like no problem.
Same.
Yeah,
It's crazy though. The one thing that would help, Ryan, though, that I thought about, if it does end up skewing towards someone else, different algo, whatever, someone else buys it.
Right.
I hope they would pivot into a little bit more of the free speech type of thing, because TikTok is actually the one that cracks down on gambling the most. So that would help me dramatically. So like the whole reason that I almost lost my account, and I have had other accounts banned before. I had like an NBA account that was banned that I'll just never get back. Like it's just gone into the ether. But like it's all gambling like strikes that you get basically, or they'll actually remove you from the For You page, all those things, right? And it's all gambling related, regardless of if you're doing pick'em, if you're doing traditional gambling, whatever. You're doing all the right things from like a compliance standpoint across these other platforms, and TikTok doesn't really care if you get flagged and under that gambling umbrella. They can ban you, they can pull down your videos, they can do a million different things. So like that's what I've personally been dealing with the most, and I know there's other creators that have been dealing with that as well. It's actually been worse for newer creators, like newer accounts. For whatever reason, I'm still bucketed in like some of the fantasy football stuff that I did years ago on this account, and have a little bit of like, I'm not sure why that is. Like it's more of like an aged account. So some of these accounts that are just starting and trying to do gambling content, they're not even getting off the ground, which is kind of a shame as well.
What made you, because like, you know, we mentioned some of the stuff with TikTok. Obviously they had the creator fund, but it's like really hard to monetize stuff over there. They also don't like people linking out, you know, if you have an affiliate link, or like what made you want to, outside of like the organic growth in the algo, what made you think that was like a platform worth spending a lot of time on?
Creator fund is actually not that bad on TikTok, believe it or not. You can still make a pretty good living just on views alone, and not a lot of platforms are like that. I always kind of look at views and ad revenue, that sort of thing, is kind of like icing on the cake. But TikTok in particular, it kind of just like, if I was to take a step back, like Pete, I know you like, you know, kind of my history. Like, I mean, I started my YouTube channel in 2018, and that was after I got laid off from the Action Network after they were acquired by Chernin, like that first summer after football, or I guess that first February after football. So I was kind of deciding if I wanted to go back into my own thing, or do my own thing, or do something else. Basically, my wife actually was the one that convinced me to keep doing this back in 2018. So shout out to her. But I kind of fumbled around for a while, man. It was like 2018 to 2022 ish. I was kind of just like focused on relationships, like people like the fantasy footballers, Pat Mayo, like those are the people that I kind of looked up to and what their businesses were like. And my goal was kind of to build like the Pat McAfee for gambling show. So I was like bringing in different people, different guests with bigger audiences as me, and just doing like short interviews, mostly like DFS, like more niche type of stuff at that time even, and kind of built it up more from a YouTube standpoint. First, short form wasn't really a big priority for me for like a really long time. Mostly because what you're saying, Pete, I didn't think you could really make much money doing that. So at the end of 2022, I actually took a job with a girl. Her name is Cody Sanchez. She does content on buying and selling businesses. She does like $1 million a month in revenue. So I got to be her head of content, build out her whole team, brought her from 1.9 million across social to 6.3 in 2 years. So really for the first time, and I would recommend this to anyone that wants to do content creation, is go learn from like an actual like big creator and see what these businesses are built like, and what it actually takes to do it at the next level. You're not going to learn that in sports. You're really not. Like, as crazy and competitive sports is, the business side of it is really kind of in its infancy. And there's a lot of people doing a lot of things wrong, a lot of people doing things that are extremely outdated. So learning from her for 2 years, it was a tough situation to where I could keep doing this. I wasn't as passionate about it as sports. It was always in the back of my mind if I wanted to go back into sports and see if I could do something that I've seen other guys do. Like Sal Vetri and I are close. Like, a lot of people know that. We've known each other for a long time. We've hung out a bunch, actually, because he lives in Austin. Cody's business is based in Austin. So I was back and forth there a bunch over the course of a couple of years. And just after talking to him and some of the other younger guys that are really crushing with like short form video and that sort of stuff, I kind of just wanted to give it another go and see if I could reverse engineer what they're doing, because honestly, I've never seen FTD numbers like they were doing in my entire life. So I think the ceiling in general is just a lot higher than I originally thought, kind of like in our bubble, Pete. So that was like the only way that type of ceiling is possible that I've seen is with short form. And it's two very different types of things, right? Which we can get into. I think there's two main paths you can go. And one of them is like the super broad entertainment, really high view velocity type of content.
How does that work for then? And how does it juxtapose? Because I think when you initially reached out and about some stuff we were talking about is when we were going through the Alex Caruso account and like his massive following on Twitter. Are you basically trying to do the same thing that he's doing just on TikTok, or like how do you decide I want to go the Alex Caruso route, and like what is he? What do you think about what he's done over there?
I think it's impressive, number one, just as someone that, I mean, I'm never going to judge a young entrepreneur for trying to make his bag. I like Alex a lot. I think what he's done over there is impressive. There's a reason a lot of people have tried to do it and have not made probably near the amount of money he has. There's differences in like what I was trying to do, because I don't think I have much of a competitive advantage on Twitter personally. The one thing that I know that I can be like best in class at is short form video. And it goes back to really working for Cody. Like my number one job during that was really her short form side, and basically thousands and thousands of reps. And I think the one thing that like what it comes down to is taste, Pete, you know that, but it's also like, what does good look like? What does bad look like? But there's really like, some people think that content creation is the entire game. It's a completely different skill set than like social media growth, right? So I've always been kind of good at the growth side. I've always been just okay at the content creation side, right? So I really tried to get better from a skill set standpoint, storytelling, how to make things really interesting, how to edit things in a way that like these Gen Z eyeballs will actually like and share, all of those type of things. The growth aspect of it is really just a formula and finding what works and then just doing that over and over again. So like I have a literally a note right here that just says more, not new. And I just try and remind myself that every day when things are going well, just do more of that. I was probably a victim of just trying to be everywhere for a really long time and doing everything at like a B- level. Now I'm just trying to do like a few things at an A+ level. And really that's all you need. And I probably wouldn't have said that like a year and a half ago, Pete. I'm trying to narrow focus if anything. This is new for me.
It's interesting when I hear someone say like I grew someone else's account 4 million, because it's this weird dynamic in the industry of
I didn't do myself, for the record. I had a lot of help, but I get what you're saying.
Sure.
Business is what grew over time.
Okay,
sure.
fair enough. But I think this point still stands. It's just like, are you training someone to leave your company? I would feel like if you were going to hire somebody, you specifically, or just generally speaking, like, hey man, am I training someone to like just go do this myself? And also like if I did, was a big part of someone getting 4 million followers, like I can't get 1 million myself?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, those are all fair questions. For me, it was more of I needed to learn. Pete, we've never talked about this. It's like a couple of years ago, I kind of thought I had all the answers. I fucking did not when it came to like running a real content business and actually doing this the way that other industries are doing extremely well. Like $1 million a month was unfathomable to me, but there's tons of content businesses, other niches that do it pretty consistently, right? So like I wanted to go in and learn. I mean, in some ways too, what you're saying, Brian, that's part of the reason I left. I wanted to build something for myself. The nice thing about working for Cody is had a ton of upside with bonuses, that sort of thing, but also was able to invest in some of the companies that she was investing in. She has a fund as well. So I have some upside indirectly with how her business goes over the long term, basically, with some of her companies and part of her portfolio. So I do have that little bit of upside too. But I agree with you. If I'm staring at this, honestly, when I'm staring at some of these other guys that were in the sports world, I just thought I could do it, at least reverse engineer what they were doing. And I guess one of the things that I still come back to this day is some people see these numbers. It comes to mind just because Sal and I are good friends, right? He had that Twitter thread where he said he made $1 million in a year on YouTube, right? You guys remember that? Yeah. And everyone just jumps all over him, all this stuff. He'd be the first one to tell you that he probably phrased it not how he meant. But I still think that like an overarching lesson for me is like, if your first instinct is like, hey, he's lying, there's no fucking chance he did that, your first reaction should be, oh shit, like that's awesome. How could I do that too? How could I reverse engineer at least parts of the things that he's doing in his business? Because like it's always going to hold you back if you just think people are lying. Like I for like the longest time never thought the short form videos were a way to make real money. And then you realize how some of these kids, my wife always gets mad when I call them kids, but they're fucking kids, man. They're doing it in such a like methodical way, like basically just putting these full-blown ads in the middle of their short form videos, which in most other niches are not a thing, but like they can promote underdog, sleeper, prize picks, all of them in one video. And then the combination of signups and FTDs that they get, like there's no ceiling on it because these videos can get 500,000 views. Like you really only need a handful of people to be like, oh yeah, like I'll give this pick'em thing a try. I can't do sports betting in my state. I'm in Minnesota, so like I'll give it a try. And sure, I like this this Dan kid, I'll tail his 5 picks because I don't have time to research myself, or it's really just the entertainment aspect of it too, which we can get into. But to me, from a business perspective, I think there's 2 main paths that you can go. It's either the 1,000 true fans, live streams, community, what you're doing, Pete, exactly, like the high retention. You're basically, it's probably better long-term value for the apps and the sites and all that for them to get your audience. Your deals are probably better for like flat fee, rev share, equity combinations. But like from a content perspective, your stuff is a lot more high level. You have a lot more smart players. It's a little bit more community driven. It's definitely more niche, that sort of thing. You're focusing on more of like the players that are higher LTV, right? Because they play more volume. Hopefully we get to a spot, Pete, where like entries end up being something that you can monetize versus just FTD deals down the road. But you really are building like loyal followers that are going to support you in anything you do. So I think that's number 1. Number 2, I think, is broad entertainment and views. So for me, short form videos, high view velocity stuff, it's better for customer acquisition and FTDs. There's no doubt about that. The type of deals that someone like me would do is the highest CPA deals you can do possible, non-exclusive. So you can do multiple different apps. Picks for the Gen Z bros, like the guys that are betting $100 with their friends for fun in a group chat. Like that's the demographic, right? So they're the type of, they convert better because they're like 18 to 24. They're younger, but they don't play as much volume, right? So to me, it's like the fastest path to views, engagement, conversions on that very specific subset of people. We're playing completely different games, but I think falling somewhere in the middle of those 2 things is like the first way to not be successful in what we're trying to do here. Would you agree with that?
No, I definitely agree with the like being on the extremes makes sense. I mean, what do you say? Like for me, one of the things that was like going through the Caruso feed, I was just like, you couldn't pay me any amount in the world for it. Like you could literally say, Peter, I'll give you $5 million. People think I'm full of shit. I promise you could not give me $5 million to have that be what I do. Like it just looks so unfun, so uncreative, so formulaic, so distant. You're just dealing with a bunch of people dunking on you all the time. Like I'm like, how is this a fun way to make a living?
That's fair. And Twitter, I get the formula aspect of it doesn't feel as creative. You can do some fun stuff with video, but to me, like I think there's a big difference in like in selling a dream, financial advice, all that stuff, and actually like providing entertainment. And the line is gray there for sure. I'm willing to admit that. But I, at least personally, try and lead heavily into like more satire and transparency. Like no one's watching one of my videos and thinks they can actually retire their girl after Thursday Night Football, right? Like it's meant to be a joke. You know what I mean? So
is that a line you've used? How to retire your girl with this one?
The reason that one popped
trick?
into my head is that was like one of my biggest view videos of the entire year, and that was the hook for it. The funny thing is, like, there's actually a guy that's selling a course right now to teach people how to make these exact type of sports videos. And like I'm all over his deck, all of this stuff. But what's crazy is like we'll put out a video on a Wednesday, and by Wednesday afternoon, there's 10 videos of the exact same hook, a lot of the same picks that just come up from these other creators, right? It kind of pissed me off in the beginning, but now it's like there's literally nothing I can do. But yeah, there was a lot of people retiring your girl on Thursday Night Football after that video, which was funny. But like at the end of the day, these people are they're gonna bet anyway. My goal, at least, is to kind of make it fun enough to get views while still trying to be responsible and not mislead people. That's what I try to do, at least. There's no perfect science to it. The more aggressive you get with like these 5 picks are guaranteed to hit, you'll probably get more views. But I also think those are the first people that like week 5, week 6 rolls around are probably not going to watch your videos anyway. So there's a line there, even just like the nuance of like the hooks and the types of social proof that you show and showing results, that sort of thing, versus just going 1 for 5 on a video and just pretending it never happened and just moving on, right? So
have you considered like getting a buddy and then betting the opposite picks, and then that way
there's probably people in my
someone else
probably
is doing
do that
that
already. There's probably people in my comments that do that already.
I'm joking
because
because
hear about that story that we referenced last week.
Dude, I am so in my own world. I don't really see a lot of the shit that goes on Twitter these days.
Well, it's interesting. So he blew up, or I should say blew up, like relatively.
Except Walking Bets, I did see that.
Yeah, I bet you did. Blesbets, was that his handle?
Seablez?
Seablez.
I don't know who that is.
So he did some, like semi-comedic stuff of like, oh, they won't take my bet. And he was making like short form, like gambling content. And then he was selling picks, essentially, like had a site. And then it was revealed that he had a partner and they were literally both taking the opposite sides of the same bet. And then with like two different sub communities, essentially being able to tout the winners over and over again, because they were always going to have one winning screenshot between them.
So it's like, look at my 5 out of 5, and then the other guy.
You guys want to hear something even worse?
Sure.
I got to be careful about how I say this. There was a guy, actually, you guys, he's not in your world at all. There was a guy that was pretty big on social media that used to be at X Pick'em site, is now at this Pick'em site. That's a different one. But his entire thing was getting people into his paid community. But there was like a workaround, and I don't know, Brian, maybe you would know how to do this. I have no idea. You could like right click the site and inspect and actually adjust your screenshot to say $1,000, even if it was a $1 screenshot. So he was just putting hundreds of $1 bets out there on X site and then promoting his massive screenshots and just changing them to say $1,000 entry and then whatever the multiplier was. So that is legitimate to me. That is like absolutely misleading people, like borderline criminal, all of those things. So there are levels to this, right? There's like the famous Dave and like the actual people that are really trying to fuck people up. And also, I mean, I think there's a handful of people that are just doing it for entertainment and to get views, that sort of thing too. So I'm not sure if any of those are right, but I do think there are levels to it personally.
There is, I think it just hasn't been explored enough. There is probably like actual criminal behavior. I'm not saying like what people are doing normally, like, is just no one's ever no attorney general is ever just prosecuted, but they're behaving in fraudulent behavior and it's probably illegal. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that happens, but I think we talk about it on the show a bit. In my opinion, I think there's a broader trend of this like anti-gambling going on in politics and the media. There's a lot more stories. It reminds me of the old poker days a little bit. So maybe I'm biased, but my spidey senses are tingling. And I feel like there's legislation coming in this year, next year. It's not a top priority now, obviously, but like, I feel like there could be something down the line. Now, that could impact you. Have you thought about this at all?
Yeah, I have. No, it was actually one of my biggest concerns when I was still with Cody. I had to go to like a conference about like FTC compliance. So the FTC are fucking terrifying, man. So like they can shut down your entire business just because you misled in a way to where it wasn't the average results of whatever you were trying to promote. So like YouTube titles are a really good example of this. You'll see some people not care about compliance at all. So like Iman Ghazi, those type of people, his business is in Dubai, so it doesn't matter. But if your business is in the United States, the FTC will come after you if you get to like a certain size. So like my scare, if Cody was worried about that, the people that if this ever comes down on the gambling world that are going to get attacked are they going to be the biggest people, right? So for me, and you can look at any of my videos, I never say the word bet. I never say any. I know you get like the big list from Underdog of do's and don'ts, right? That you can and cannot do. But I try and stay as compliant as possible. And then if it's like something where it's like a little bit more aggressive, where it could be financial advice, I try at least to make it more satire, more entertainment. And it's a fine line. I do worry about it sometimes too, because I mentioned it before, but like, the hook that everyone used to use over and over and over again, this is like a year and a half ago, was these 5 picks are guaranteed to hit. Like that is legitimately like the exact opposite of what you can do according to the FTC, right? So yeah, I think about that a lot, and the regulation side of it too. Like maybe TikTok has it right, because these pick'em videos are very similar to what they would be like if they were prop betting videos, right? They're just saying different words. So it's the only platform that's really cracking down on that. You can do whatever you want on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, that sort of thing. So you could be right. It's something I think about.
What is the psychology you think of most of the people who are, like tailing these bets, whether they see it on Alex's post or yours on, are they just looking for a little sweat? Are you building like a lifetime fan? Like they're coming back and they're like, I want your bets over and over. Like, are they building rapport? Like what do they actually want from that experience?
Yeah, I think I think most people just can't fathom that most people just want to bet on sports for fun. Right. So it's the sports betting entertainment aspect for the massive amount of people, not the people that are ever going to come anywhere near this stream, but the people that have their group chat with their buddies and they want to sound smart, or they don't have time or don't want to, I guess, try and get better or research. They really don't care about any of that. They want to they want 60 seconds on some sort of narrative around why this pick is good or this pick is bad. And they want to feel like they're getting it in good. And then they want to put it in their group chat, and then they want to sweat it with $10, right? So to me, the part of it that's tricky is like I've experimented a ton with like these 4 and 5 leg entries that are actually like pretty heavily alt line as well. So instead of turning your $100 into 2,000, you're turning your $100 into 500, right? So it's like a 4 or 5x instead of like a 25x. So I think that most people would rather 4 to 5x their money consistently, or a little bit more consistently, than chase that 25 to 50x entry that they're rarely going to win, right? So I think it's especially true actually in non-NFL, like sports like NBA and MLB, where people grind a little bit more. But I'm building those with pretty heavily alt lines, but also like I'm building them like DFS lineups. I'm correlating, and I'm doing most of my stuff for like one game anyway, right? So I am looking at it a little bit more of like through a DFS lens anyway. But I think most people, they say they want these big hits, but they really just want to hit a little bit more consistently, right? So like one of the things that you should be thinking about no matter what type of content you're doing is it the hopes, fears, dreams? Like how can you actually make content that addresses some of those things, or at least gives them, I guess, the entertainment to try and turn a little into a lot is great. But I think most people still want to win more often.
It's funny what you just described could not be more accurate because I've described on here, and Brian and I were talking about it a little last week, my relationship with my college buddies. And when I did my annual trip with them, and I think like when I do the show with the Badge Bros and we build the pick'ems, like our audience, they're all DFS players, they're GPP bros, and we build these 50x, 75x bombs, and like once a year we'll hit one, and we all fucking love it, and we'll chase it. But then
they're
I go with my buddies,
hitting once a year though. They don't care.
Exactly. And then my buddies, like when they all asked me to create the pick'ems and the bets for our weekend trip, and I tighten that shit up. Like I'm literally getting like, something to win like 2.3x, and they don't care. Like, oh, you picked Kelsey to score. He fucking scores, and we're fist pumping. They just want to hit. And so like calibrating that, it's interesting that you're saying that, because it does. I've experienced that real time. Like I got the feedback from giving my buddies 30xers, and my buddy's like trolling me. He's like, you must be having a rough year. I'm like, well, I'm taking fucking moonshots over here, guys.
You do.
But then I realized, oh, you don't care about the moonshot. You just want a little sweat and for it to be realistic.
It's part of the reason that people don't like, I mean, real people, like my friends, like, so I go to every Vikings game. We have people over, we go to the games, we have like make this whole deal of it. But like a lot of like the people that are over, they're not in our world, right? They like to throw a little bit of money on the game like we're describing, but also like none of those people like playing DraftKings. They just get destroyed, right? So like they think parlays are more fun. So they would rather just like everyone at the table throws in a bet. I'll throw like an alt on all of them, and then hopefully we have at least a sweat at the end of the game to go 5 for 5. Like they would much rather do it that way. And like part of the reason that that was like a big realization for me, because I was like at the games like sweating my own stuff. It was more fun to sweat these like little entries with like my friends and the people that I was at the games with in general. Like part of the reason I don't do as much DraftKings content anymore, the only thing I really do is my live stream on Sunday mornings, where I'll go through the positions and build a lineup at the end, basically, just because I've been doing it for so long. It's fun. But like I stopped winning on DraftKings like a couple of years ago. So like I don't necessarily want to do content that I know still isn't going to make me as much money from a views perspective, but I'm also not winning. Like I enjoy the puzzle, but I can get my DFS, like my DraftKings fix on Sunday morning and be totally good. I just would rather focus on other things at this point that I at least I think I can realize a little bit of a bigger edge over time. So
I have a hard time getting upset about free picks at all, like from anybody. Like when it's just, I like this game +7. How can you go like, oh my God, you could have got it for 7.5, 20 minutes ago free, like that mentality. I mean, Pete said this we've said this a million times. The sports betting like community is pretty toxic. So
Yep. I got
The
people telling me to
hardcore
kill
sports
myself in my
betting.
comments every week. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a combination of like righteousness and like this weird fixation on you have to absolutely have like an edge. You can't have any entertainment value at all in sports betting.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. But you made me wonder about, since you're not doing DraftKings anymore, like if you're, it sounds like you could do this in anything. So like, why even sports anymore? Why sports betting? Like, and furthermore, like, because I feel like for someone to actually not just like have to deal with the grind, but to be really good at something, you kind of have to like not love it, but like do it even regardless. You're just like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I like I said, I was started to have more fun with the prop betting stuff, like going to games, live sweating, all of those things. So like it was something I was doing at Vikings games anyways. So making those videos is fun to me, like piecing together a 4 or 5 leg, making a video on it, like creating a story around all of these different things. Like I'm the first one to tell you that, like, yeah, this man coverage versus zone coverage stuff maybe doesn't matter. Maybe it does, but it's fun to build stories around it anyway. But like, this team is really bad at defending the slot, so we're over on receptions for this reason. Like those type of stories are fun to me to make, and it gives you like a reason to do this. But like, why do sports versus other things? Number one, I mean, I love sports, but number two, there's a lot of money here. So like, there's not a lot of affiliate programs in any niche that will pay you the same amount that sports gambling sites will pay you, right? So if there's really high demand and you can get a lot of views for something, but you can also convert something on the affiliate side, at least, a pretty high number relative to those views, it's just a really big opportunity. And to me, at least, I don't think there's a lot of people doing it that well.
What do you think? One of the things we were poking fun of Alex at when we were scrolling through his timeline was just all of these random sites we had never heard of, where he had these affiliate deals and obviously was getting super big, first time depositor bonuses, and what kind of like responsibility, and I'm not saying you do these, I actually don't know, but like the quality control behind like this random site, like I have no clue anything about them, but hey, you're gonna offer me $500 for a first time depositor. Let's go. Yep. Like, how do you think about that responsibility?
It is for sure. There's two sides of it. And Pete, I know you know Chris really well. He was in the poker world too. So I always run things past him when it comes to the business side of what I'm doing. And the first thing he always tells me is if their tracking is not immaculate and you don't have any sort of back end to like basically have them show you what you're driving, you can't work with them. Right. So some of these sites that I think you're referring to, I've like experimented with a couple of them either. But as soon as there's a 1% inkling that their tracking is wrong and it doesn't match up, I can't promote them anymore. Right. So to me, it's always going to be like these top ones that are the best anyway. Like I know you're invested in Underdog. Underdog is one of the best tracking ones on the market. It's not even close, right? Underdog and Prize Picks are so much better from a tracking perspective. And actually it helps with conversion too, because there's so much less friction to actually sign up. Some of these smaller books, they haven't figured out the entire flow of that anyway. So you're probably losing some of your signups along their flow anyway, but it's also so much friction. It's just a mess, right? And then I get scared, like these smaller books, like a big creator like Alex Caruso could fucking bankrupt some of these small sites, right? If he's getting paid out X amount per FTD, he pushes them a bunch of stuff. Like there was a site that was paying based on signups, not based on deposit. They did it for like 2 months and Vegas got killed by some of the big affiliates. This was like a year ago. So there's that side of it. The other side of it is, I don't really want to burn my audience for like these FTDs on these sites that I would never play on, that I think that the platform is shitty, and that I also don't like fully trust any of their tracking. If I can't trust their tracking, how can I trust them to let me get like paid out at the end of it, is how I look at it. Maybe that's a little bit overly paranoid, but I try and stick to the bigger ones. There's different situations where you can kind of break ties, where if it's a bigger parent company that started like this like little arm that is like Pick'em, that sort of thing, I think is okay. But it's case by case. Like I agree with you, like all these really small books is probably a really short-sighted approach. for anyone, not even just like someone like Alex, for anyone.
What's like the order of the things, the order that of the content you do that people want? Is it just they want a bunch of like a 5-man parlays or more? They don't want individual picks. They don't want size. They don't want total. Like, is there
definitely not size and totals? Yeah, it's the pick'em stuff for me. And sorry to cut you off. It's the pick'em stuff for me, but it is like I've tried like 2 and 3 legs. Like the videos don't do shit. It's the 4 and 5 like single or same game primetime games. So it's like Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football. Those videos, 4 to 5 picks. Those are the only ones that really matter. Believe it or not, Thursday is like double any other video. Even if the views are the same, the conversions are always better because people are sitting there trying to decide if they want to play. But the best, even just like at a really like micro level, the best conversion states are the states that don't have betting available, but they have pick'em available. So somewhere like Minnesota, I live in Minnesota. It's still one of my best conversion states just because it's the only option here. So those people see those videos, they think they can't bet, and then they see that it's fantasy sports and they're willing to try it, right? So like it's not going to last forever on some of this stuff, but I actually do think I'm pretty bullish on the amount. I think there's legs to this whole industry in general, on the pick'em side, and as things start to unlock in general. I don't know if that answered your question, but I think most people are looking for like those quick 4 to 5 picks that they can get in quickly right before the game starts. So I think like most of my conversions are probably happening in the last hour, and they're just waiting for the game to start, and they're just scrolling on their phone.
Yeah, that answered my question. I was wondering maybe if there's a surprise, like they really like X, Y, or Z, but the Thursday night thing's kind of surprising.
Yeah,
but
I
when
would
you
do 3
think about it,
Thursday night videos. Yeah, if I could, I would just do 3 Thursday night videos. Like you easily could do that. There's people that do that. They'll do like a video on Tuesday for Thursday. Like they're getting earlier and earlier too. So like the Thursday night picks are out by Tuesday for a lot of people. So
it's because those games are so boring.
They're boring, and no one has anything else really to talk about during that time. So like I'm not really sure what it is. Like the worst. It's actually kind of different because like I used to just do like a lot more stuff on YouTube. The things age over time. It's like a different audience. Like Pete, I would imagine like most of your conversions probably come on like Saturday, Sunday. Mine are always early week, like Wednesday, Thursday now, like my big days. So
I don't get any conversions anymore. My audience is now is fully on every site.
Yeah. Well, we got to get you some entry fee deal, like some sort of rev share with that, man. That seems like the move.
Well, no, I mean, Underdog has been good about. I mean, that is essentially what our deal was with the Shipcast, because the whole thing is like everyone is already on Underdog drafting best ball teams, but not everyone is playing pickups. And I know they're thinking about that too, as far as like, because even when we talked to them this summer, they didn't have a really good way to track that yet. It's like a little tricky, I guess, behind the scenes with their tech for that. But like, that's obviously valuable, right? Like someone who's never played a pick'em before that's on your site, that's now playing, a decent amount of entries every week. Like that should be valued just as much, or if not more, way more than a first-time depositor who comes, does one free bet, and then ghosts and never plays again.
Right. That's actually an issue that I've had as well. I'm only on a few different of these apps, but I'm not going to call one of these out in particular, but it's fantasy heavy. Like if someone was on the app already for fantasy and then they deposit with my code, there was a site that wasn't giving us credit for that. So someone that lived on X site for mostly fantasy sports, and then they decided to try pick them for the first time and they used the code, there was like weird slippage there. So as soon as something like that happens, like I obviously don't work with this company anymore. As soon as something like that happens, I'm fucking gone, man. Like there's so much of that stuff that happens with the smaller sites that you would not even realize. So
what percentage of like I guess just like your audience on there are people that are just stumbling upon it for the first time? Like, oh, you just popped up in my For You page or in my algo, versus like, all right, I subscribe. I don't want to miss a Holka video. Like I'm doing callbacks to something you reference. So like, how does that shake out for you?
Yeah, I posted a screenshot actually in the doc that I sent over to you guys. So did like about 100 million views across TikTok and Instagram, which is crazy this year. And it's only the last 90 days on TikTok, but they show you basically your followers versus your non-followers. So 70% of my views came from non-followers. So like that's the exact thing you want from a top of funnel type of platform anyway, because that is like the group of people that have the chance to probably be like a first-time depositor, right? So ideally that number is even higher for non-followers. Like the crazy thing about even just like Instagram, Follower count really doesn't matter at all. I know you know this, like YouTube, like the only thing that really matters is views anyway. It's crazy. Like I just started, like when I had that account get banned recently on TikTok, I was kind of paranoid a little bit. I spun off like another small NFL account, got 500,000 views on an Instagram video on a brand new account. It was like my third video on the account. So good videos that are still doing the right things can still win out versus these. There's tons of people that have way more followers than me that I crush in views, right? So I don't care about followers at all. Again, not sure if that answered your question, but that's what came to mind.
No, it does. I think what you're saying is I don't care about follower count. I think you care about your followers, right?
Oh yeah, that's the follower count. It's not follower count doesn't matter at all. No, but like to your point, like if someone's watching my videos and engaging with it, even if they're telling me that they suck, like I'm gonna end up on their feed anyway. They don't need to follow me.
Right.
So people are, if they like my picks, they're gonna see it on their feed pretty quickly after it comes out anyway, for the most part. Because it's a lot of the people that are like, if you're tailing Instagram reel picks, like you're probably not just tailing mine, right? Like you probably have like $3 or $4 on like 10 different creators, right? And you're probably tailing the ones that have been hot lately. It's ridiculous, but it's true, right? So like I lose a couple of weeks in a row, like my views basically stay the same, but like it's just the type of people that we're dealing with here. It's different than your audience, man. Very different.
Well, no, I was going to say there is a parallel. I mean, within the DFS space, there are a ton of people who hop around from site to site and chase the latest screenshot marketing. They're like, oh man, I've been getting my ass handed to me over at Run Pure. I'm going to head over to Ship It Nation because I just saw, the screenshot. Let me give ETR a shot.
Well, what do you, let me ask you about this though. So like the same people that shit on Twitter threads, the same people that are probably shitting on these short form videos that are like also made a good chunk of their business, their site, their Twitter following from the screenshot life days of like when that was really hot in DFS. Like, how is that any different or better? Like, I don't know. Like, I couldn't imagine being one of those people, and that it's the same, right? It has to be. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's kind of like a little bit annoying.
Like, I mean, it's just in DFS, it has been the proven go-to marketing technique is screenshot marketing. Like nothing converts better than that. Like you cannot come up with a better thing in DFS that converts.
And then your Thursday night football short form video, you're showing that you just went 5 for 5 on Monday night in the video, and then somehow that's misleading. It's the same thing. So.
No, it is because it's like people aren't posting screenshots when they take a bath 3 straight slits in a row. And the same way people aren't posting their screenshots, entries of like, here, how I lost. If anything, it's a little bit more transparent because your picks theoretically are still up there, assuming you're not.
You're not deleting videos or anything. I'm actually curious. Do you guys think there's a better way to be more transparent about like even some of the stuff I'm doing? Like what would make it not as cringy is not even the right word, like disingenuous, like should I be should I like have a link in my bio that shows everything I've taken for the entire year and people can look at it?
Care? That's does your audience care? No. They don't care.
I mean, they care enough to tell me in the comments that I suck, but would they ever go to my bio, check out my results? Like probably not. It's like I struggle with that too. Like how do I do this better?
Well, that's why I think it's going back to that whole different thing, right? The people who care about that aren't the audience in the first place. The people who care about that aren't getting random picks from someone on TikTok, right? Like, I think the people who care, like, there's a definite, it's an interesting dynamic with the DFS stuff, right? Because we've talked about it, how a lot of it is community based. Like people want to sign up for their tribe and like ride or die with their DFS tribe. And so eventually maybe they get like a little fed up with like, hey, we keep losing with your picks and we're kind of trolling you about that. But like, it seems like it's a completely different dynamic that you have right now where so much of like what you're trying to optimize for are just like new people, or like I might just show up in someone's feed and then they might not see me for a few more weeks kind of thing.
It's true. And also like the hate is good for me, right? So like if people are ripping on me in the comments, the video just gets more views. So like I used to restrict things. Like if it was like really aggressive, like telling me to kill myself, I'd maybe block. But like for the most part, like all of the hate, like if someone was like, this guy never hits, like you'll see that hundreds of times in the comments across every creator that does these type of video, or like this guy works for Vegas, this guy never hits. Like
this guy works for Vegas. Mr. Vegas in his tuxedo walking around handing out the influencer gigs.
Exactly. Yeah. So like those like even those comments, they get the most likes, like they end up at the top of the feed. But for the most part, like all those do is help my videos get again more view velocity. Because like what's different about short form video in this niche is like I need views and I need a lot of them, but I need them at a very specific time. I don't care about views after kickoff, obviously. And if it's too early, people aren't going to actually feel the need to put the picks in anyways, right? So I need most of my views on the day of the game. So that's why Thursday is so great. So like things start coming in at like Thursday morning for the most part. But like honestly, like Tuesday, like Monday, Tuesday is usually pretty dead. Even if there's a Monday night football game, most people have already lost a bunch of money on Thursday, Sunday. So Monday night football, they're less likely to be firing as hard. So
why don't we talk some gossip, Pete?
Okay.
How much money do you think Vegas Dave makes a year?
Me? You said Pete,
Yeah,
I
you.
thought. Oh, ooh.
Brian gets to talk to me every week. We don't care
Okay.
we want your inside hunches
I don't know anything about Vegas Dave. I will say that the
Okay,
numbers,
let's do another one then. Let's do another one. Taylor Mathis. Because we've talked
more than you think.
That's okay. That's what Pete. I think that's what Pete said, and I think I
Yeah.
took the other side. I'm like, who is this demographic?
I will say that thousands of FTDs per month during NFL are possible. Huge days of like 250 plus FTDs in a day.
What's an
is
FTD?
very real.
First time deposit.
Okay.
So one conversion. Those numbers are very real. And depending on what type of deal you have, what the site is, that can range from $50 to $150, whatever it is. Let's just say it's somewhere in the middle. Like there's plenty of people out there that are making six figures a month. And I think there's more of those people out there than you think. So I'm not saying that Taylor is one of those people. I'm not saying I'm one of those people. I'm not. It exists. It's real. So my instinct when I see like, and I don't know much about like Twitter views because I'm not really focused on Twitter right now. But like the views that she's doing, I bet she's doing pretty well. I bet she converts a couple hundred signups per month, something like that.
What's that get you, Pete?
So 30, 40K a month, probably.
30, 40K a month.
Possible.
Okay.
That's just signups though. She has other deals. She now has an influencer thing with No Vig. She just was doing a slot machine deal the other night. How do I know all of her happenings? I don't know. It shows up in my feed. I don't have alerts on.
If you can convert to casino, man, you're definitely printing money because those talk about like the amount of money you'll spend for a casino player. It's dramatically higher than a DFS or better. So
when I saw she was doing the slot machine things, I was like, now she found the real honey pot.
That's wild. It's
how much do you think? I mean, you probably have a much better inclination. Like, how much do you think Alex Caruso is making from all that Twitter stuff?
Alex and I are friends. Like, I can't give you exact numbers on that. I am aware. Yeah, Alex. I like Alex.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Oh no. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off on that. So you wouldn't.
We have like a group of guys that meet once a week, like that talk through most like videos and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not really focused on Twitter, but like we'll talk about what's working, what's not working, and it's really just like. I come from the mindset of like, I saw Cody do it. All she did was talk to creators that were 2 or 3 times her size, making 2 or 3 times as much money. So like when I left her to come do this and try and do it the best way possible, I just reached out to who I thought was the best younger kids doing these type of videos. And I wanted to try and figure out how they think. Cause like, I don't know shit. Like there was a moment this time last year where apparently my music, I was just like, I had like the worst music ever in comparison to like what a Gen Z person wants like their music to be like in their short form videos. I never would have known those things if they wouldn't have told me I was a moron, right? So I'm a pretty direct person, but they're also like really direct with me too on things I'm doing wrong, could be doing better, all those things, right? I also think like production value really matters, Pete. I've been telling you this for years. Like I can still out production value and out hustle a lot of people. So if there's like these kids that are making these like shitty videos, even if they get a lot of views over time, I'm pretty confident I can compete in that realm. I'm just not as confident I can compete in the Twitter realm, which is why I'm not spending much time on it.
So are the two main revenue streams, whether for like you on TikTok or Caruso on X, obviously first time depositor sign up stuff, and then the creator fund on TikTok or the monetization stuff, are those just like the two things?
For the most part, a little bit of sponsorship stuff too, like the newsletter here and there. I'll get a sponsor for that. That's one thing I could definitely improve on is monetizing that list in a better way. But yeah, YouTube ad revenue, like TikTok ad revenue is actually pretty significant, especially during the high volume months of football. But yeah, the affiliate side of it is like 80+% for sure of like the overall pie.
What'd you think of the odds jam? I think it was odds jam, right?
Yeah.
The Alex was
Yeah.
it Alex Monahan or whatever his name is. What'd you think of that deal? Because he he did his Twitter game, but he was using his arbitrage picks or whatever, like their plus EV picks.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were following him, but the people who followed him too were also like sharper because they first of all, they know what an arbitrage is. That right off the bat is way higher than your average sports bettor. And he ended up what? How much did he make? 50 million, whatever. He killed it.
They did well. Yeah, I mean, hard to, I guess, argue with that result that they had. I think that like those type of sites are interesting, right? Because you would think that like their whole game would just be the subscription model of it, right? But if they wanted to like for me, large scale, what I would love to do is partner with the right piece of software, right? Because that's something that really scales and that's something that you could sell down the road. And the affiliate thing probably doesn't last forever. So like, I don't know anything about his content really. But I think, yeah, starting from a good spot of like an actual like tool, good projections, all of those things, and then building the story second should be the order of operations of making these videos. That's what I try and do. I'm still trying to give out the best picks I possibly can. I'm also going to try and build some cool stories around them as I'm actually like building out the script and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, there's a million different ways to do this. Like going for that big like acquisition score at the end is certainly one that's a pretty profitable way to do it. I haven't fallen into that right situation for something like that yet, but open for business if anyone's got a cool piece of software they want me to promote.
This kind of dovetails with Brick's kind of thing he was mentioning earlier about like paid picks versus, free picks and historical anomalies, asking what your opinion of sites like Dub Club that host all of these betting touts and then sell, different levels of membership. Is that a model you've considered or thought about?
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with the selling picks thing. I think that's where we probably differ, Brian. I think as long as you're transparent about your results, if someone wants to pay whatever X amount per week to have some more exclusive picks that they wouldn't get on a video, I don't really see anything wrong with that personally. I think where it does, I think where it's disingenuous is like what I mentioned before, someone that's only showing the winning results and they're getting people into their funnel based on the expectation that they're just going to print money, which is not going to be the case for any of these. And these picks like Dub Club, that sort of thing, like there's different ways to do it. It can be a real community like yours, Pete, where you're actually interacting with people, or it can be a one-way community where it's just the picks. Like there's different levels to even that. But I honestly, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, just for the record, I was just saying I can't see how you have any problem with someone giving away picks. Like who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you wanted to sell your picks, I don't have a problem with that either. I like BetStamp. Like I've used their app to just like look at odds and stuff, but I think they have the same thing as Dub Club, but it's all tracked. And I don't know, maybe Dub Club tracks as well. But like, so every touts pick is tracked for like the book and the price that they got it on. And you could see, like they have thousands of tracked bets for some of the touts on there and stuff. So yeah, I think people should be adults and like, make your own choices and generally speaking, but having, a tracking system like that is pretty solid, I would say.
It is. It's also just like stupid, right? Because imagine you find the touter, someone who's transparent and has this like really sterling record and they track, and then you actually see like, how do you get that record? Well, you're hopping on inefficient lines immediately. You are shopping around. You are arbing. You're doing all of these things that the casual sports bettor is one, doesn't even know about, or two, wouldn't want to spend the time to do itself. So it's like this whole idea that there's this mythical sports betting tout out there who like crushes and just like does like an hour of research like on their pick and then like gives them out to everyone. Like it doesn't exist. So I don't even know what like validating or tracking even does for that whole dynamic. You know what I mean?
I've seen with that peak is like I could show my results very easily on like a percentage basis, but I'm taking alts, right? So my record doesn't really matter because it's not going to impact like the amount of winnings I have, right? Like if I show you a 65 or 70% hit rate with a bunch of alt lines, that doesn't really do anything besides, I mean, honestly, that's probably disingenuous as well, just showing that percentage, right? So
That's the
I've
biggest
thought
thing.
about this a lot. I don't know what the best way to do this is. I would love to figure out a good solution to where like everyone feels good about it. But I think the alt lines are great because in some ways, like what people get mad about is not getting the same number as you, right? Especially in like the prop betting stuff, especially these videos that need to age over the course for a couple of days. But if I take 19.5 as an alt line that anyone could get from Thursday to Sunday morning, like that in some ways is a better experience for your people as well.
Except the thing is like even the alt lines move, right? Like I know my buddy Nez from the Badge Bros, he'll build out these bomb pick'ems on underdog and he'll like post it at 100x and I'll go to tail it. And it's down to like a 55x.
Underdog, the multipliers definitely get adjusted quickly. That's fair.
There's I think if we're being charitable for like the Seville crowd, the people who complain the most about people like you probably is that there really is no way to kind of do it. Like because of what Pete's talking about, it's really tough. So like if we think about like ETR's prop program or who else has one? What's the there's a sports bet Right Sports is another one. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Do they show like an ROI over time or something? What do they even show?
Sure, yeah, I don't know what they show over time, but they're just known as pretty much the best pay for pick. Like even like all the other pros vouch for them. So I'm assuming that's their credibility. Maybe they have something somewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what they do is you be in their Discord, and they go, okay, we're gonna have a pick coming up in 30 seconds. And then you put it into your your DraftKings or whatever, get ready to bet it, and then we'll tell you if it's real or not. So this way they get as many people all at once. Because if you just go, I like Henry's over rushing yards, well, the first 15 bros who go on there, depending on how much they bet, are going to get all the EV, and then like the majority of your subs get screwed.
Gotcha.
And so they do it that way. Yeah, I mean, and I don't think there's anything wrong with just saying like we're going to release these picks first come first serve. Don't bet it below this number. Once it gets to this number, stop.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think all this is great in theory, and I don't mean to like throw cold water on it, but I think at least most of my people just don't care enough to like worry about that stuff. Yeah. Like as crazy as that sounds, like I still come from like a DFS mindset, and like I was like never as good of a player as you, Brian, or as playing as high volume, but a couple $1,000 a week, like we went pretty deep in the weeds on like all the stuff we were doing for a while, Pete, with DFS. And like, I loved like the really in detailed research aspect of it, like trying to get in the weeds, get the best edge I can in certain things. That's really not my audience now though. My audience just, they just want to not look dumb in their group chat with their buddies. You know what I mean? So.
And is that different for you? Because my guess is when you were doing, I remember when I first started watching your stuff and you were playing in the Game Changer and you do your recap view, similar how I would do my GPP review. Like people were like along for the ride. They were curious to see what your lineup did. They wanted you to succeed, all of that stuff. Like, do you feel like you're missing that element from like your audience now?
Probably. There's definitely aspects of like, that's why I really enjoy and still do my live show on Sunday mornings, because it's a lot of the same people that have been in that live stream for 5 or 6 years, right? They're all still there. We build a lineup at the end, all of that good stuff. But again, I'm one of the first, I haven't been a winning player in a couple of years on DraftKings, right? And I didn't used to have to say that, but I wouldn't feel right not saying that. So like, it's not my main focus. There's definitely better people to listen to when it comes to the DraftKings and FanDuel stuff. And dude, I've been doing this since, I've been doing this for 10 years. So like I'm allowed to evolve over time and have different interests. So it's not as fun from a content perspective to me as it used to be, I would suppose. And I guess it was more fun when I was winning. So maybe that was it too. But yeah.
No one can argue that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I know what I assume is the fun part for you is figuring out the game of these social media platforms, how to be the best at that game, getting the immediate feedback to how you're playing that game, and then getting rewarded monetarily for being good at that game. Like, I'm guessing that's what's the fun part for you. Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying this for even since I was like part of the reason that I think I had so much success with Cody was that I treat this whole thing like a video game anyway, right? Like I love sports and I'm trying to give out the best picks I possibly can. But I also like really like the building the business aspect behind. I always have. That's kind of like what I've like indirectly become known for, like in our world, is like just being really interested in this side of the stuff. Like I overdo everything, which you guys have probably noticed, is like I don't really know how to do things halfway. So finding different ways to get the word out there and make money in sports is like I'm here to make money, and I'm not scared to say that. And I really enjoy doing it in sports, and I'm going to continue to do it the best way I can in a way that makes me fulfilled. And definitely respect that, like, doing these type of videos for you, Pete, would be soul sucking. You would last probably half a week before you wouldn't be able to do it anymore. But I do like the video game aspect of watching number go up from a view perspective, and that sort of stuff too is fun for me. So
no, and I think it's fun for everyone, but people either one don't have the skills to do it, two wouldn't, like you said, stay consistent with it. Like a lot of people would love your results, but they're not willing to do that. It requires a shit ton of work and consistency to actually succeed at it.
I don't think I would recommend what I'm doing to just anyone starting out. The space is like, I don't even like saying the word oversaturated, but like the execution aspect of it still matters so much more. And without like tooting my own horn, like I've been doing this at a high level, not even my own business, but like for 2 full years, my only job was to make sure our short form videos were extremely good. So I was like massively obsessed with like doing good short form videos. So like without the taste aspect of this is good or this is bad, it's going to take you a really long time to get to the point where this is making you a lot of income. It's like anything. The top 1% of people are making all the money in short form right now. Like pretty confident in that. So it's not something I would recommend to people. There's a million different ways to do it. I actually I'm so proud of you, Pete, because you found like this perfect niche for what makes you happy and what like actually fulfills you. Like the small community that you have that's like relatively small, it's not that small anymore, is really cool. It's just a completely different game that we're playing, right? It doesn't mean that we can't be friends in general. We're just doing different things. We're not competing with each other at all whatsoever, right? And I think that's one of the things that people still make mistakes about too, is like, even though like I talk with a lot of the guys that are doing similar things to me, there's so much meat on the bone for everyone that's doing it at a high level that I'm not really threatened by anyone, honestly. Like I could easily, actually, this is a good way to kind of wrap it up too. And I think I've told this story before. I used to like be super jealous of Sal Vetri, and I know a lot of you guys like rip on him for whatever. Like reality is he's had an amazing business for a really long time in sports, right? And he's grinded. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen all those things. He's a great person. I was super jealous of Sal for a while, just because like I wanted to be as good as him, make as much money as him, all of those things, and be in sports. When the reality is he was just better than me, like a lot of stuff, right? So that was like kind of like the moment where I was like, if I want to be the best, I got to get better. And the only way I could do that was to go out of the sports niche and figure out what other creators were doing at a high level. So like, I'm not really even competing with Sal at this point because our businesses are so different. His YouTube is blown up. He's a little bit more skewed to season long, that sort of thing. But I'm not scared to say that I was definitely jealous of the success he was having. But it was a little bit of fuel as well to kind of find my own little spot in this world. So,
I was just going to say, I think there's that undercurrent of like competitiveness across everything. That's what makes everybody get better, right? Like if everyone didn't feel competitive with each other, like the quality of everything would take a big hit for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, you might not feel threatened, but Pete has been studying Taylor Mathis quite a bit. He
that
actually excursion.
Of all the people out there, she can provide a lot of things that I cannot in the content world, right? So there's definitely some alpha there that I need to figure out how to figure out.
And I think the thing you mentioned too about why you wouldn't recommend what you're doing to people starting out is because like when you're starting out, you want to learn while doing something that's like super fun or engaging to you, right? And like if you go and you just say like, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to hammer it because I think it will work. Well, one, you still have to take your lumps, right? Like you still have to learn all of the things. You're going to eat shit like along the way. And if you start doing something like that, because you're doing something that you know you can execute at a high level, if someone just starting out tries to do
Pete,
that.
You want to talk about scams? We guys want drama. Like the guy that's selling the course that teaches people how to make these videos, he's someone that's never done it himself at a high level, right? So he's
just
teaching
packaging
people how to
all of the people.
He's teaching people how to do these watered down versions of the videos that I do. And like there's obviously multiple people that are still doing it at a similar level. And it's just like the watered down version of that is never going to get the same results, right? So you're selling people a course for something you've never done, right?
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. And I've always like the Cody stuff too. Like the reason that she has so much success is the stuff that she sells, courses, community, all of those things. Like she's done the thing. She's been buying and selling boarding businesses for years. She has proof of all of that. So I guess I have a really big problem with people just in general selling stuff online that they've never done themselves or could never do themselves because they tried and they failed. Right. So that just feels icky to me. I would never do that.
Brian, one thing, this isn't related to Joe, but this is a very lolzy topic that is kind of broken today. So real quick, so Terry Rozier has now been linked to a potential illegal sports betting scheme. Federal prosecutors have been investigating him. And then in our neck of the woods, there's this tweet going around from Greg Ehrenberg over at Stochastic that like lines up with like the exact dates of when this stuff was going on. And Adam from IdGame Syndicate over there with Brick had a tweet. This is March 23rd, 2023. Oh man, Books pulled Rozier lines. Then he got hurt mid-game. Greg is about to have the time of his life. And then Greg quote retweets this. At least I was in on it today. Got lucky that I was fed some inside info that Rozier was leaving in the first or second quarter, depending on game flow and live lines, so that his unders would hit. Then Rob Perez, Worldwide Wob, posts this screenshot of this old thing. Everyone's asking Greg, like, what the hell is going on? And all he's responded so far is this account has been seized by the U.S. government, will go offline pending an investigation. This is pretty wild. Maybe we're gonna have to get Greg back on lolz to figure out what's going on here.
We should. I'm guessing inside info is like, you know, somebody who works at Stochastic is like, I think he's not gonna play in the second half. I doubt he has any. But I mean, that's a pretty big name. That's not what's his name, Portno or whatever. Who's the guy who got the Raptors dude?
Porter.
Jonte.
Yeah.
That's a big name, man. And I played him a ton too in DFS, the son of a bitch.
So
they need to regulate this industry. I've changed my mind.
Well, so then Adam posted some screenshots. This is from Heat Nation, a random account. So it says that one model linked to Terry Rozier is claiming he's missing so she can hit her parlays. She replied to me saying that now deleted. What the hell is going on? And then no fucking way. I think this has to do with Selena Powell. I saw a weird tweet a while back that quickly got deleted. Apparently she was betting his under on 3-pointers and tweeted it out under a Heat fan account a month or two ago, but quickly deleted it. And so Adam's thought is that Greg, there's a lot of speculation here, but it appears that Terry Rozier may have been fucking Greg. So he probably saw the girlfriend thing, and then that was his inside information. Is that what I'm piecing together here?
So does anyone know the actual allegation? Is it that he was shaving for somebody specifically or part of a large gambling operation?
It said illegal gambling operation, which makes it seem bigger than his like girlfriend betting the unders on this. While I look this up, Joe, your wife famously is a cheerleader for the Minnesota Vikings. Has she ever brought you a piece of inside Vikings intel that you've been tempted to use in the sports betting markets?
I wish, dude. I wish. She did run into the Kirk Cousins after his injury in the hallway one time. There was a Dalvin Cook issue where he was banged up, but he was like working out in the facility. So I guess that's the closest thing. But she's not a cheerleader anymore. It's her first year with the rest of us idiots in the stands. So that's been a transition for sure. But I mean, I guess with big opportunity missed, she should have been like digging around trying to find us something. Maybe I'd still be playing DraftKings at a high level, Brian, if she was giving me all the juice.
Yeah, I mean, I wish you would share that with the rest of us.
Okay.
If so, I know they don't pay those cheerleaders too well.
They're paid on experiences, that's for sure.
The Wall Street Journal says that that Terry Rozier's linked to the Jonte Porter group.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Who?
The ring accused of conspiring with Jonte Porter also bet heavily against Rozier in a 2023 game for the Hornets. So there's the direct tie-in.
I'm telling you, man, regulation is happening. It is.
What does that look like if it does, you think?
I don't know. Like it could be, like for all of us, like it could be good, could be bad. Like it could be like a resurgence for DFS if you're not allowed to advertise sports betting, something like that. Like I'm guessing sports advertising will be a crackdown.
What do you think happens to like the pick'em market then? This gray area that exists now no longer exists.
It depends on how much they blow this up.
Yeah.
Or if it's a midnight hour thing.
So the poker stuff, I'm not as familiar with like the actual story of like, I know obviously about like what happened. It was basically overnight, right? It was just done. Like people couldn't get their money off.
Midnight hour situation. Yeah. They attached it to the what was it, Safe Port Act or something, of course non-related.
Yeah,
passed it in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And it was gone the next day. Yeah, so yeah, I mean I'm trying to like because the main motivation for all this stuff is to just moat themselves off from competition. So like I'm not sure DraftKings is going to be really scared of this, right? Like I in fact I bet they're not, because DraftKings might lose a little bit but gain long-term stability in the market share because it'll just be too impossible to get involved in like a super heavily regulated marketplace. And there's not a lot of countries that just don't allow advertisements for sports betting too. So there's precedent for it. I don't think they're going to ban it. I would say
then what happens then with like FanDuel Sports Network, right? So it just wouldn't be in commercials and stuff, but it could still be like you're watching the Minnesota Wild game and you still see like all the FanDuel lines like coming across the ticker. Like would that stuff be impacted, do you think?
That's a real good question, because I mean ESPN bet, like ESPN, they just made that huge deal. They have a lot of pull. They'd have to like shut down a bunch of new shows and stuff that are kind of based around that. I don't know what the game is here, but they're investigating it really heavily, starting to build their case. The news is picking up on it. You could really just go a lot of this stuff. You could just like go to like Google News and type in like sports betting, whatever, and you'll see the narrative they're trying to run. So like one day I'll do that and see what's going on, and it'll change. But right now I feel like it's sports betting bad. Sports betting problem. Sports betting needs regulation.
Yeah.
I don't know, Brandon. I think it's happening, my friend.
I think it's happening, but don't you think like so many of these sites are already moving to either the sweepstakes model or leaning into the fantasy element with the pick'em and that kind of carve out? I wonder if they just crack down and everyone uses that other stuff as kind of the safe haven. Or do you think they're going to come for that stuff too? I guess that is the question.
It'll be a broad change, right? Because they're not going to come after people. They don't have the resources to do anything granular, so it'll have to be something broad and sweeping. And like blocking ads seems pretty easy to do, and then they can go, look what I did to fight problem gambling when they're campaigning, and it won't upset any of the big donors. Something that doesn't upset the big donors actually helps them usually.
Yeah.
Broad sweeping and cheap to implement. I don't know what that is.
All right. I have to power this down because we got ship chasing here in about 10 minutes. But Joe, it was great catching up with you. Appreciate you kind of sharing some of that stuff that, Brian and I love to wildly speculate on. Getting to hear it for someone in those trenches has been a pleasure. What is the main place if you'd like people to check you out these days? What's the best one?
Honestly, you can just search my name on any platform. You'll see it.
You're there.
TikTok still exists by the time we're talking through this next year. But yeah, the short form videos they're all the same videos going across Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. So YouTube's probably the easiest way if people are already here, but you'll find me. I'm everywhere except Twitter recently. Twitter doesn't make me much money, so I haven't spent much time over there recently. So maybe I should get the Twitter stuff going again.
There you go. All right. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, we're going to go do ship chasing right now. If you guys want to hear more about the in-game syndicate announcement, that's up on their YouTube feed. And Brian, I believe we're going to kind of line up some guests from the in-game syndicate over the next month or so. So we'll be able to get to kind of dive into some of those things.
Unless Greg Ehrenberg gets arrested, then we got to throw everything out.
Yes. Bringing Greg on right before
we'll have Greg from prison.
That would be a great correspondent bit for us. You get one call a month, Greg. I know you want to call your loved ones, but we're going to need it to be legal lulz. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you around the YouTubes. Check out Joe Holka everywhere. Just search his name anywhere and you will find him. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.